Hi there, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, survivor, and advocate from danaarcuri.com. And today's topic is something that is really near and dear to my heart. It is about wonderful supernatural happenings. I call them divine signs. And I have been experiencing this for many, many years. And something recently happened that brought me to tears, and it was following the death of my mother. And so I wanted to share this with you because so many people are intrigued by these divine signs, and it is life-changing for us. It could bring comfort and hope and peace, especially when we are in the middle of grief. And you know, the truth is that oftentimes when we are in transitions and going through trials in life, unexpectedly, we may encounter these supernatural happenings. We may see things, it could be synchronicity, there could be dreams, there could be images, there could be creatures in nature, and they will cross our paths at the right time, for the right moment, for the right purpose, in which it will really bring us comfort. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing that happens. And so I want to share my story, but before I get into what brought me to tears, I wanted to first just talk a little bit about these heavenly messengers. And so sometimes we get really caught up in life, you know, the crazy rat race of life, the busyness of just rushing from one thing to the next thing, that we are not even aware of what is going on around us. And yet it's during these moments of chaos, of confusion, especially in 2020, when unexpected signs appear before our very eyes that stop us in our track, that minister to us, and that have such a wonderful message of hope and healing and restoration. And we may see this with butterflies, red cardinals, rainbows, angelic encounters, ladybugs, hawks, and all kinds of birds, all kinds of different signs. Some people see numbers, and it might be triple numbers. I know I have been seeing a lot of triple ones and triple fives. And, you know, as far as the triple five, my mother, who passed away last month, many years ago when she played the lottery, she won, and it was the number 555. And so after my mother has passed away, I'm seeing all over the place, wherever I go, 555. And so, you know, again, it's these wonderful signs that kind of can bring us comfort and knowing that even though we are in grief, even though there is loss, and we may be going through major life changes, that we still have hope for the future. Now, I want to bring something up before I share my story on what brought me to tears. I want to share about something supernatural, and it's been going on for 5 years. And so after my beloved Samson, he's my 13-year-old yellow lab, after Samson passed away in November 2015, I had just grieved deeply this loss. We had Samson for 13 years, and he was a big part of our family, a big part of our life. He was a happy dog, an affectionate, loyal, furry friend. And so after he passed away, one evening, it was the day after he passed away, that I was in my room and I was alone and crying and just really, really, really broken. And so I kind of sent out into the universe and lifted up a prayer and said, please give me a sign that Samson's okay. And within minutes, a red cardinal appeared. And so red cardinals are beautiful, they're gorgeous, they are heavenly messengers, especially when we lose, whether it is our loved one, whether it is our pet or our friends. So many people have reached out to me. It's been 5 years since the passing of Samson, since seeing this red cardinal, which turned into many, many, many more encounters with red cardinals, to the point where they visit me daily. I now nickname them. So I have a nickname for the two lovely red cardinals who visit me daily. So it's Fred the red cardinal and his mate Winona. And so I love them. They visit me daily. And I have had just one supernatural experience after another with these red cardinals, who just are beautiful, beautiful messengers that remind us that love never dies and that there is hope for healing, especially after our loss. And another thing that we may experience are other types of birds, and it could be a hawk. So a hawk, here you go, a hawk soars into our life and it gives us a message. This hawk reminds us to be still, be in the moment, to have wisdom and focus and concentration, and to zoom in on something that is meant to get our attention. And maybe we're supposed to do something. Maybe we need to have courage to take the next step on our healing journey. And so if you're seeing hawks, know that this is grabbing your attention because it wants you to have crystal clear clarity and to keep on keeping on. Next is the lovely mourning dove. Here, I don't want my mourning dove getting shined on. Sorry, it's kind of shining the light. But you could see this mourning dove. It's beautiful. It's graceful. And so it's not coincidental that last year, after my father passed away in May 2019, all the way through 2019, and then the whole way through until July 2020, I have been seeing everywhere mourning doves. And usually they come in pairs, but sometimes I see them alone by themselves. And it just keeps happening and happening and happening. And so after I continue seeing these mourning doves, I started asking myself, well, what does this mean? And I knew it was a divine sign to grab my attention. It was something that was meant for me to be there in my healing journey, especially after the going no contact with my narcissistic mother, after the death of my father, after making major changes in my life. I've been rebuilding my life. I've been restoring my life. I've found my voice. And after finding my voice, I've been on a major empowering healing transformational journey. And so this beautiful dove is here to remind us of a few things. So let's talk about the symbolism of the mourning dove. And so the mourning dove brings us a message of peace and hope, and it's for those who have a hurting, broken heart, who may be in loss and grief. It is representing life and death. So oftentimes, even people at their loved ones' funerals, they'll have either white doves or mourning doves in a cage, and they'll open the cage and they'll let these doves fly out and soar. And it is to give us peace and hope and encouragement. So let's talk about various representations of the symbolism of mourning doves. So mourning doves represent renewal, freedom from emotional burdens, serenity, new beginnings, love. And I want to give a side note that love is the highest vibration and energy. Next, the mourning dove gives us strength to carry on. The doves symbolize motherhood. It symbolizes spirituality. It gives us peace. And it gives us permission to continue grieving and working through the various stages of grief. The mourning dove reminds us that this too shall pass. It confirms that we are to continue forward in our lives. And so I do not believe it is coincidental or just a fluke that after my mother passed away in July 2020, the mourning doves stopped visiting me. They stopped crossing my path. So I really believe that last year when it began, And it continued for a long, long time, from last May all the way through till the beginning of July 2020. Nevertheless, it was definitely a divine sign that I appreciate and I'm thankful for. But it stopped. As soon as my mother passed away, the mourning doves stopped. But then there was something extremely supernatural that happened, and it was in a dream. And, many times people will have divine signs in their waking life, but also in their sleep. So never discredit your dreams. Oftentimes our dreams could be very important messages for us. It could help us. It could build awareness. It could give us a warning. It could give us a life lesson. It could give us the little push we need to keep on keeping on. And so let me share with you this supernatural dream that had many divine signs within it, and it literally brought me to tears. So right after my mother passed away, I ended up having this dream. And so here it is. In this powerful dream about my mother, I realized in my dream that I wasn't alone, that I was standing in my backyard of my childhood home where I was raised for 16 years, and my siblings were with me. Anyone who's curious about how that came down, it actually was fine. So in my dream, my siblings and I were standing in my backyard of the home where we grew up. It was calm, it was quiet, we were getting along, and everything was well between us. In my dream, my sisters and I were well aware that recently our mother passed away. We were talking amongst ourselves, but for unknown reasons, that part is blank. I can't recall at all what we were discussing, but I really believe that the takeaway was more so really focusing on my mother and I, because that was the real big sign and the supernatural happening that occurred in my dream that brought me to tears, and that is what stood out, and that is what I remember. So in my dream, my sisters and I are talking when all of a sudden a few monarch butterflies soar into our yard. And so these wonderful butterflies, here you go, here's a picture. Monarch butterflies are so beautiful, and there is a lot of symbolism, which I'll get to after this dream, and we'll talk more about the wonderful symbolism behind this beautiful butterfly. But in the meanwhile, this beautiful butterfly was flying around the backyard, and there was a few of them, and they caught our attention. And we were delighted. I love butterflies, and I think they're really great as far as the metamorphosis and the symbolism of how this chrysalis, this caterpillar, is then transformed into a beautiful, beautiful full-grown butterfly that emerges from the dark cocoon. When it emerges from the dark cocoon, it's reminding us, though it is dark, we are actually accomplishing a lot during that timeline. When we have trials, when we have tears, when we have trauma, when we're going through those hard rock moments, it is dark, but there will be light, and we will emerge just like the butterfly, and we will soon soar. And this is something that gives us great hope. So in my dream, all of a sudden, I felt the presence of my mother with us in the backyard. So remember, this is my dream. I'm with my sisters. We're in the backyard. And now I feel the presence of my mother. Now I felt her presence in spirit, meaning like I felt her spirit was present with my sisters and I. I couldn't visually see her yet, but I could sense intuitively that she was present. And just like that, hundreds upon hundreds of monarch butterflies fluttered into my backyard. I'm talking hundreds, people. I've been to butterfly museums several times in my life, and they're beautiful, and it's amazing being so close to that many butterflies. There are times they'll land on you. It's just such a awesome experience. But in my dream, I am in awe I am speechless. And I knew my mom was there. I knew her spirit was with me. And then just like that, suddenly my mother's physical form appeared before my eyes. I could visually see my mother physically in form. She looked younger and healthier in my dream. And there were all these butterflies, hundreds and hundreds, all over the yard. It was such a vivid, colorful dream. The colors were so bold and beautiful and brilliant. Just seeing my mother took me by surprise, and yet it was almost like I was waiting. Like my soul knew that I would, at some point, meet my mother on a spiritual realm, an effort to bring forth closure and to give me peace. And so there I am with my mother now, and I walk up to my mother and I embrace her. So my mother and I, in my dream, were hugging, and it was almost like she was speaking to me, not audibly. So it was not something audible that I could hear with my ears. It was something that was more telepathically, where my mother was speaking to me and saying, I love you, please forgive me. I'm sending you these gorgeous monarch butterflies because it is my token of love that I'm giving to you, because I know that you are being transformed, and I know that you are on a soul mission for healing, health, and hope. And I want to let you know that I am sorry, and I love you, and I'm here for you. And so my mother and I, we hugged and embraced each other for a very lengthy amount of time. My siblings basically were just observing my mother and I. In my dream, at one point, I just sobbed and wept and wept. I cried for the years of the child abuse and neglect that occurred in this family of mine. I cried for the trauma. I cried for that inner child who was silenced and told to just be quiet, that she wasn't valuable, that she wasn't worthy. I cried for the loss. I cried for the broken relationship I had from my mother. And then I cried happy tears because this was confirmation that divine signs are real, that they could show up even in a dream state when we're consciously not even aware, sound asleep. And yet this beautiful, beautiful dream ministered to me. It brought me closure. It brought me peace. It brought me comfort. I definitely can say, yes, I have closure with my mother. I forgive my mother. I feel just absolutely blessed to have this dream, to bring so much more healing and restoration in my life. And, we have to know that these things, some people say, oh, it's just a fluke. Oh, it's not real. And other people say, yes, it's miraculous. It's supernatural. It's divine. Yes, these are heavenly messengers, and they are meant for us, especially during grief. And so we have to know that the monarch butterflies present the guiding light that directs us to our highest spiritual truth. And it points us into the right direction, the right healing path to continually expand ourselves. And like that beautiful butterfly, we are transforming, we are evolving, we are growing and expanding ourselves, and we are going to greater heights and soaring higher and higher every day. We must also know that there's countless people that report these synchronistic sightings of monarch butterflies after a loved one has passed away. And so if you have seen butterflies or red cardinals or hawks or mourning doves or some other beautiful creature after someone passed away, know that yes, this is meant for you. This is not a fluke. This is not coincidental. It is divine, and it is meant to bring you comfort and to help heal you as you work through your grief process. Now, let's chat more about the symbolism of butterflies because it's so intriguing, and I'm a lover of butterflies, just everything about their beginning stages, the chrysalis stage, all the way through the full growth, expansion, and immersion of the adult butterfly that then leaves the cocoon to soar high. So here are some of the symbolism of what this butterfly represents. It represents birth, life, and death. It represents renewal, personal growth, time, change. It represents our soul and spirituality. It represents grace, expansion, elegance, surrender, expression, transition, vulnerability, transformation, hope, joy, and celebration. And so today I celebrate this wonderful dream, seeing all of these divine signs, from the red cardinal to the beautiful rainbows I've seen, to the mourning doves, and so many other wonderful creatures, whether it is in my wake or whether it is my sleep. I know that this is a remarkable heavenly messenger connecting to me on a spiritual realm to say, this is part of helping you to restore, to fully work through the process of grief, to expand yourself, to transform yourself, and to never, never lose sight of hope. Now, if you have ever experienced any supernatural dreams, any divine signs, have you seen ladybugs, red cardinals, hawks, doves, butterflies, or something else? Have you seen something after a loved one or a furry friend passed away? Maybe you crossed paths with something that was also considered supernatural phenomena. If so, please share with me your story. And if you'd like more encouragement, you could visit me at danaarcuri.com. Thank you and have a great day.